Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings. This is our 4th edition of our shows that we do from Buffalo Wild Wings, guys. We want you guys to come out on Saturday, to come out and check these fights out at Buffalo Wild Wings. We kind of got a partnership going with them. I'm Bernard Oliver. I'm joined by my co-hosts, John Arcuyo and Jeremy Hurt. How you guys doing tonight?
Good to be back at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, it's always good to be at Wild Wings, huh? Jeremy, how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, you're asking me this. That's nice. I'm spectacular. How you doing, Bernard? How are you, Bernard?
All right, well, guys, we're going to get straight to this card. We don't have a show to review, so now we get to talk about a full card in this show. The first fight we're going to talk about, guys, is Mr. Bart Palachevsky versus Tyson Griffin. Now, this fight is on the prelim card on Spike, along with the Donald Cerrone Dennis Siver fight. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Tyson Griffin versus Bart Palachevsky is a great fight to get Tyson Griffin back into things, get Bart Palachevsky off of his WEC fame, get him in the UFC, get him some fame here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make a real good case. In fact, I'm going to just make the statement right now. I think the undercard on this card is a little bit stronger. I don't think these are Spike prelim fights when you look at the first 2 fights on the main card. But it's an excellent fight. This and the Cerrone Siver, both great fights, offer name guys in a spot that you don't really expect to see them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Maybe it's some kind of marketing tool. I was thinking about Dana, putting some of these amazing fights on a Spike TV when he knows that not everybody's going to be getting his pay-per-view. Right. He's going to put it on the free channels, show everybody what they're missing, and we're up for some fireworks, definitely. This is going to be 2 really good fights. Can't wait to talk about that Siver Cerrone fight. But right now, I think Tyson Griffin, this is exactly what he needs. A good matchup. He's got, a good way to ease himself back into it. Palachevsky, he's got some name recognition too. WEC guy, but now, time for the UFC to see what he's really made of.
Both of these guys are very well-rounded fighters, but I don't see it going to that well-rounded side. I see these 2 guys coming out and brawling. I don't really see them getting on the ground. I see them putting on the show for the crowd. They're both kind of returning after not having to fight for a while. So I really see them putting on some fireworks for the crowd out there.
Yeah, one thing you can definitely say, I don't know if that was the Cardinals or the Rangers, so it doesn't matter.
A little World Series action going on in the background.
World Series is going on in the background, guys. So, you're periodic yells, that's what you know is going on.
It is Buffalo Wild Wings.
But much like Buffalo Wild Wings, this is a fight that's going to be high energy. And I think you can say that about a lot of the fights on this card. Again, Tyson Griffin, it's a name guy. Bart Palachevsky, these are name guys, and it's the kind of fight where someone's moving up in the division and someone's taking a step back.
I totally agree, and this is just one of those things that it's fun for the fans. Finally we get all these matchups. Again with the merging of these companies, Dana kind of taking over the MMA world right now as of recent. And it just sets out. It's perfect for the fans because we get these entertaining fights, and now for free.
Yeah, and before we go to break, we're going to get to Cerrone and Siver really quickly. Everybody kind of unanimously agreed that this fight did not belong on the undercard. When you have, the Jorgensen and Curran fight on the main card, we thought that, the Cerrone and Siver fight should be on the main card. These are guys that have been fighting in main events on UFC Fight Night cards and things like that. So we really felt like they should be on the main card. But man, I think 2 out of the 4 of us that did our picks online said that Cerrone and Siver was going to be fight of the night. I picked the main event. I believe John picked the main event to be fight of the night also. But Cerrone Siver definitely had it. If it's not going to be fight of the night, something is going to happen to make this fight stick out in people's minds.
When I hear those names, Siver, Cerrone, consecutively like that, I'm not thinking fight of the night or fight of the month or fight of the year. I'm thinking like fight of the decade. Like this is that kind of fight. These are 2 guys that come to fight. It's like I thought, always be fighting. These 2 guys are always fighting. Cerrone is a guy that's very well-rounded, and I think that will play to his advantage in this fight. But absolutely, these are guys, if I'm not mistaken, between them, I think they have something like 10 fight awards. Fight of the night, knockout of the night, submission of the night, those types of awards. These are 2 guys that are absolutely going to get out there. Do not miss this fight for any reason.
Yeah, seriously, these guys probably have made more money off of Fight of the Night bonuses than they have in entire purses in their MMA career. I think it's going to be fireworks for sure, and that's exactly what we're looking forward to. That's exactly what they want to show on Spike TV, to get people to be like, hey, you know what? I had so much fun watching that fight. Maybe I am going to spend the extra $54.99 and grab that pay-per-view this weekend. I think it's going to be a great fight.
All right, guys. Well, before we go to break, we're going to get our picks on those first 2 fights. First, Tyson Griffin. Who do you have in that fight? Tyson Griffin versus Mr. Palachevsky. Jeremy?
Not Tyson Griffin. I'm going with, what did we call him? I forgot. We'll leave it alone. But I'm not going with Tyson Griffin. I'll go with Palachevsky.
Pose Prince. I'm gonna have to agree with. I'm gonna have to agree with Jeremy here.
So you both are going with Mr. Barnabas, huh?
That's right.
I don't really know how I don't want to be unanimous with you guys. I really like Tyson Griffin. I really like him coming back off of his fame that he had before. But Palachevsky, man, he's just done a lot more things recently. Coming out of the WEC, he ruled in the WEC. So I guess I'm gonna have to go Mr. Barnabas Palachevsky also. Next fight, Seaver versus Cerrone. Now take your time on this one, because it's gonna take a minute. Take your time. Dennis Seaver versus Donald Cerrone. Who you got, Jeremy?
Again, I think that Cerrone's maybe a little more rounded. Seaver's very devastating with his hands, as everybody know, on his feet. Again, though, I think Cerrone probably has a little more to offer if the fight does go to the ground, if it gets into a clinch game. I think he's probably a little more experienced at this level in the fight game. I mean, Seaver's definitely fought some guys, and he's beaten some guys, but I think maybe Cerrone's probably a little more experienced at this level. I think Cerrone gets the nod in a lot of areas and for a lot of reasons. And that's not to take anything away from Seaver, because, again, this is going to be a fight for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Both fighters, Seaver coming off 4 straight wins. Competition, the Cowboys coming off of 5 straight wins. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think the reach is going to, take advantage. I think Cerrone's going to have, a little bit of advantage when it comes to that in the striking. I love that little 5'7" tight little German, but I'm going to have to go with Cerrone. I think the Cowboys going to come out with the victory.
I really like Seaver too, man. He's actually become one of my favorite fighters to watch when he's coming up on these events, just because he does work so hard. His takedown defense is amazing. He's one of those, I don't think he gets a lot of love for his takedown defense, and he should, because he just completely erases somebody's game away if they're a wrestler trying to get them down in the game. I'm going to have to go with Mr. Cowboy, though. Jeremy is a person that introduced me to Cowboy Cerrone when he was in the WEC, and ever since then, I've loved watching the guy fight. He never quits, and he keeps it going the whole time. His gas tank, his motor is always going. I'm going to have to go with Donald Cerrone on that one. When we come back from the break, guys, we're going to get to the main card. We're going to get into a little Hatsuo Aoki, and we're going to get into Mr. George Root when we come back from the break. We're watching Off the Mat. Welcome back to Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings. This is our 4th edition from Buffalo Wild Wings. The World Series is going on behind us. You hear a lot of yelling from the crowd behind us. We're trying to give them a little, let them enjoy their game, so we kind of turn the set around. We want to watch the series too, of course, so, we can glance up and look at the series whenever we feel like it. But getting back into this card, guys, Mr. George Root versus Hatsuo Aoki. This fight, I think we pretty much all picked this the same way on our internet predictions that we put on UATVonline.net. That Root would pretty much get outfought by Aoki. Aoki is a champion in every fighting brand that he's been in so far, Sengoku. And a lot of the other things he's done over in the Far East. He's got a championship in every fight. And he's really remarked as the second greatest featherweight in the world behind Jose Aldo, which is, it's not far-fetched to say that. He really might be. They're probably setting him up kind of for, maybe to go take on Aldo. What do you guys take on this fight?
I don't know that I agree with the premise that he's going to outfight George Root. Aoki's a very, very talented fighter. I think that he's probably giving up a little bit on the feet, because one thing is, at that weight, George Root's a very long guy. And Aoki's fought a lot of people, but he hasn't fought someone that long. Now, he's a pretty good sized fighter himself at that weight, but I think on the feet, I think the Root probably does have an advantage with the Muay Thai. What you see with Aoki, he works really, really well off of his back. He likes to get into a sort of in-between triangle position and, attack with strikes, attack with submissions. I think if he gets this fight to the ground, it's no contest. It's Aoki all day long. But I don't believe that he's going to outfight George Root, to outfight him. I believe if Root can keep this fight standing, it's an entirely different situation.
John, do you see Root coming out and doing kind of the same thing he did against Josh Crispy. When he beat Crispy, he KO'd him with a body shot, which is something that you don't see a lot. You kind of see him coming out and holding his striking true in the same way that he did against Crispy.
Well, I see him coming out with something to prove. I think that in the media, you know, throughout his career, he's never got the credit he believes he's due. Kind of a tough situation in here. Not taking away anything from Roop, but I like Hayoki. I know that fighters from the East have come over to the cage and they've had trouble before, and it hasn't, you know, turned out for the overall record. But I think this is a different story. Dana, I believe, you know, as has been announced, you know, there's going to be an Asian tour, and there are going to be a couple of events that are overseas over there. And what better way to market a pay-per-view like that than to have somebody that's popular in the area, someone who is followed. And I think that this is not at all a setup fight, at all. But I think it works towards the strengths of Hayoki, and I think that this matchup favors him and that he's going to pull out.
Definitely. Okay, now we're going to go into your picks. Who do you guys see coming out on top of this fight, and how do you see him doing it? Jeremy?
Like I said, if Roop can keep it standing, I think he's got an excellent chance to get a big upset and really score a big positive mark for his career. That being said, I don't think that he can. I think Hayoki will get him to the ground. I think he'll slowly advance positions. I think he'll end up submitting him. I'm even going to say triangle because that's what Hayoki does. I think it's like something like 7 of his last 11 fights ended with him winning by triangle. I got Hayoki by triangle, probably second round.
Hey, when you're hot, you go to your best move. Triangle's obviously Hayoki's. I'm going to agree. I hate that we have, what, 3 in a row? Is that 3 the same? Got to do it.
He's learning. In the pre-show, he's like, who you got?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and take Hayoki, too. I really think he's going to submit Roop in the first round. I think he's going to come out. He's going to surprise him. They're going to get on the ground. And Hayoki's just going to end it in the first round. I really see that's the way he's going to go. He's going to neutralize Roop striking. And I really see that's how it's going to go. Moving on to our next fight, though. Scott Jorgensen versus Jeff Curran. I can't say I'm very excited about this fight. This is kind of, it's kind of a breather, I guess you could say, in the card when you're going from excitement. You know, you kind of have a breather, you get back up into excitement. Not to take anything away from these two fighters, but the phenomenalness, if that's a word, of this card is just so huge at the beginning and the end that this fight's kind of in the middle, stuck there, kind of like, you know, I don't know how this fight's going to go. Jorgensen coming off a lot of success in the WEC. He's one of those WEC guys coming over. Didn't quite win his last fight in the WEC, but he's won since he's been in the UFC. And then you got Curran coming off. You know, Curran's kind of an up-and-down fighter. Don't have a lot of faith in him, but we'll get to those picks in a second. Jeremy, where are you guys sitting on this fight?
You know, you look at this fight and you're right. It's like, I don't know about this being a main card fight. But Joel Silva, the UFC's matchmaker, he knows what he's doing. He's been doing this for a little while, a minute or two. And it's kind of one of those where you go, well, you know, Jorgensen's going to drag him down and just dominate from top, right? It's pretty simple. But remember, Jeff Curran's been around this game a long time. He's had trouble with the elites in his weight class, but I don't know that Scott Jorgensen is currently an elite in that weight class. I know some people would definitely disagree with me on that, but I don't know. It's one of those that when you look at it, it just doesn't seem like it's got the pop, but it's there for a reason, and I got to assume that Joe Silva sees something that I'm not seeing right now.
I think he may have thought he picked Pat. I think that might have been the problem. He saw Pat, he was thinking Pat, and he put Jeff. But I think, you know, it's going to be a decent fight. I think since, you know, you look at the name recognition throughout the entire card, even the prelims, you're going to have a miscue, you know, on one of the fights. It's not the biggest fight, but it's going to be an entertaining fight. The way it's going to go, I like Jorgensen. I think that he's the better all-around fighter. He's had better, you know, better resume, fought better fighters. And I'm just going to have to go ahead and keep it simple. I'm going to go with Jorgensen.
I like Jorgensen a lot. When I first saw him in the WEC, he's a guy that gets after it a lot. He's not exactly, you know, I guess the kind of tier that you could say, you know, Cruz and, you know, those other guys that he's fought on his resume. But he does have a lot going for him. And like I said, he's been winning since he's been in the UFC. Curran, he's so up and down. I just don't see him coming out on top of Scott Jorgensen right now. I feel like Scott Jorgensen is hot. I feel like he's going to take it. I got Scott Jorgensen. John, you got Scott Jorgensen. Jeremy, who do you have?
You know, like I said, Curran's very experienced. He's been around for a while. All that said, Jorgensen's younger. He's got the better wrestling pedigree. He's got the better recent victories. I'm going to go with Jorgensen.
All right. Well, we're agreeing a lot up here, which is very.
Y'all are learning. I'm glad to see.
Of course, we're agreeing with Jeremy. That's what's going on right now because Jeremy is the guru.
You see the success. You can't miss it.
Well, before we go to this break, guys, we're going to go ahead and let you know. You can go to uatvonline.net, click on the Off the Mat section, and go to Off the Mat News, and you'll see our UFC 137 predictions. You have myself. You got John, you got Jeremy Arcuyo. I just mixed you guys up. That's ridiculous. Jeremy Hurt and Brett Rory also contributes a lot. He's a little behind the scenes. You know, you guys will see him in a few coming weeks. So just go on there, look at our picks. If you want to visit us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/OffTheMatTV. If you want to visit us on Twitter, it's @OffTheMatTV, @Bernard_Oliver, @John Arcuyo, and @Jeremy Hurt with 2 T's. When we come back, we're going to get into more of this main card, guys, and we're going to break down the rest of these fights for you. You're watching Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings. Welcome back, guys. I'm Bernard Oliver. That is John Arcuyo, and that is Jeremy Hurt over there to the far left. We're back on this UFC 137 pay-per-view breakdown show that we have out here from Buffalo Wild Wings. Like, when we do these shows, we love to give Buffalo Wild Wings a lot of love. They put up with us when we come up here with these bright lights and, you know, kind of all this commotion that we get. And, you know, they let us come over and do the show. Buffalo Wild Wings is on West Joyce Boulevard, next to the Northwest Arkansas Mall. If you guys want to get the address, you can go on our Facebook or on Twitter. I put it on there. You know, you can ask us. We're always on there. Somebody's always on the Facebook or the Twitter. You guys can go ask us on there. Again, that's facebook.com/OffTheMatTV or @OffTheMatTV on Twitter. Now, getting back into this fight. You got these fights, excuse me. You got Mirko and Roy Nelson coming up. You got Crow Cop, which is on a decline in his career. One of the greatest KOers in the history of the sport. On a decline. He's now what I call a resume builder into my prediction of this fight. And then you got Roy Nelson coming in. You know, the only guy kind of recommended to the Dolce diet in the MMA community. You know, using that belly and that size that he has, and the great jiu-jitsu that he has also. He's also a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So you kind of look at this fight and you kind of go, you know, Roy Nelson's going to win this fight. Mirko is pretty much on a downturn. But if you look back at the Brendan Schaub fight, Brendan Schaub was losing that fight. He did KO Crow Cop to win, but he was definitely bloodied and bruised in that fight. So when you look at this fight, you kind of got to take a step back and don't go with the main guy.
I'm going to go with the main guy. Crow Cop's going to lose this fight. It's going to be Roy Nelson. You're right, Brendan Schaub was losing that fight, but during that whole fight, I kept saying walk forward. Because at this point, we know exactly how to beat Crow Cop. Just walk forward and swing, and eventually he's going to fall asleep. And Roy Nelson's going to do that. He's a big, fat guy, which means that he knows he has to be aggressive. He knows that he has to game plan to win fights, and that's what he's going to do. Roy Nelson's going to walk forward, and he's going to knock Crow Cop out. You know, that's it.
We got Jeremy's synopsis and his pick in great time there. Look at Jeremy.
I don't need to talk more than that. That's it. Roy Nelson.
John, let's get your view on this.
Agreed again. I mean, you know, what can I say? Roy Nelson, the guy's got a chin. He's slimming down, looking slimmer than I've ever seen him. Saw him next to Forrest Griffin. I couldn't tell which one was which. Just one was about a foot shorter. But I think Roy Nelson's going to handle Crow Cop very easily. It's unfortunate. The guy's a legend. You know, like you said, knockout artist. Unless some crazy flying kick comes out of Crow Cop's back corner, I don't think that Roy Nelson's going to have a problem with this. This guy stood in there with big boys and has able to, you know, take those punches. I don't think Crow Cop's got enough. I'm definitely going to agree and go with Roy Nelson.
All right, we're either going to do very good or very bad on this card. We're all sticking to the same stuff here. We like to drum up controversy, but you just can't go against, you know, what the facts state. I got to take Roy Nelson on this. Crow Cop's on a decline. Roy Nelson's KO power is coming out. If he goes to the ground, his jiu-jitsu is going to come out. I mean, where can Crow Cop beat Roy Nelson? Nowhere. So I'm going to take Roy Nelson on that fight. Getting into our next fight, we got Chet Congo versus Matt Mitrione. Now, this fight is a little more difficult to pick. You have a great, huge guy in Chet Congo, huge kickboxer guy, very athletic. And then you have Matt Mitrione, which is a former NFL player coming off the Ultimate Fighter heavyweight season, and he was definitely the most talented guy in that house. He's proven that in his fights in the UFC. He constantly gets better. He constantly grows as a fighter. It's amazing the way that you see him grow from the fight that from the first round to whenever it ends, he grows in the match. He grows in training. It's kind of a hard decision to make.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Mitrione's first professional fight was in the UFC, and he's 5-0. I mean,
exactly.
What else do you need to hear? And he is. I think I speak for almost everyone that watched that season of The Ultimate Fighter and say that I didn't care for Mitrione that much in the show. But he's grown. He's grown as an individual in his post-fight interviews, and as a fighter, you can't compare. I don't know that there's anyone in the game that you can point to as a more dramatic example of this, of being a different, improved fighter every single time he fights. He looks like a different guy every time. I've been saying for months, MMA will change when you start getting those top-level athletes. Matt Mitrione may not look like it, but he's a top-level athlete. This is a guy that played in the NFL for 2 different teams. Chet Congo's a guy, when he first came out, everybody thought he was going to be the greatest fighter ever because of the physique and his athleticism and everything. It's a very interesting matchup. It's kind of two guys, one who's maybe stalling a little bit and one that's going that direction. It's a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And like we just said, the guy played in the NFL. Very, very select people can play in the NFL. The guy is an athlete. He's got a lot of momentum going towards his career right now. And people that think of Mitrione, they think of his appearance on The Ultimate Fighter. He was not, I mean, TV will do strange things to how somebody really is. They'll put on whatever they want. You should see this guy off of the camera, okay? But I tell you, Mitrione, you can't be swayed by what you think about his character. It's not, your character's not going to win you a fight. It's going to be those two, fish hooks in front of you that you're going to be able to work with. I think Mitrione has improved immensely since we saw him on The Ultimate Fighter. And, his record shows it. He's 5-0. People keep doubting him. That's why I think he's found plenty of motivation to move his career forward and keep that fire about him.
And I definitely was probably one of those people that didn't like him. I don't like people coming into a fight smiling, laughing, taunting, doing that kind of thing. I mean, it's a fine line because I laugh when Anderson Silva does it. When Mitrione did it, you just don't like his face when he does that kind of thing. You don't like it. But, I mean, like you said, TV does a lot of weird things. We work in TV, we all edit video. You know what you can do to somebody when you record them on a camera. You know you can make them look evil or you can make them look like an angel. And, you'll never know how Matt Mitrione really is unless you get to hang out with the guy. So don't judge what you see off The Ultimate Fighter by Matt Mitrione. He's a great fighter. I got to take Matt Mitrione in this fight. I was very skeptical of doing that because Chet Congo is inconsistent, and inconsistent means you do good and you do bad. Pat Barry almost knocked him out. He came back and gave Pat Barry the business. So you never know what's going to happen in a fight. Matt Mitrione, like I said, he gets a lot better every fight. I got to pick Matt Mitrione. John, who you got in this fight?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. It's very hard for me to pick against Congo. I think he's a fantastic striker, kickboxer champion. He's got the tools, definitely, to take on Mitrione and have an advantage, but he's getting up there in age. I think that Mitrione is, a fighter of the future, All he's done, all he's shown us is that he improves and gets better and better each time he steps into the octagon. So I'm going to have to go with Mitrione on this one.
Jeremy, who you got?
I'm going to have to check the weight limit on my coattails with you two guys, right? It's Mitrione. I'll say this. I think this is a fight that can go dramatically different directions. I got a feeling like Congo might be thinking in his head, I'm going to take this guy to the ground. Because like we said, Mitrione 5-0, every one of those fights he won with his hands. He's a different caliber of athlete, even though Congo is a pretty impressive caliber of athlete. So I kind of think that Congo might try to take this fight to the ground. If he does, I feel like that athleticism gap will favor Mitrione. I like Mitrione in this fight. I think he wins this fight standing.
There you go. We have another unanimous decision up here. Man, I'm really scared. We're picking all these fights. We're all going to do really bad, and we're going to look like the smartest guys on earth when we get back for our show next week. You know what, guys? We're gonna take another break here really quickly. Give our breath a little time to rest here for a second. When we come back, we're gonna take the main event, which is probably one of the most explosive main events that you've ever gotten your eyes on this year. And we say that every week because every week the UFC steps up their game with these fights. It was originally St. Pierre versus Carlos Condit. That fight's not happening now. You have TJ Penn versus Nick Diaz as the main event. When we come back from the break, you guys are gonna get to see that. You're watching Off the Mat, Buffalo Wild Wings. Welcome back to Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings. Your fourth edition is here. We're going to get into this main event, this explosive main event. BJ Penn, the Phenom, versus Nick Diaz, the one I like to call him the BJ Penn of now. He's the BJ Penn of our generation. Both of these guys, phenomenal Cesar Gracie fighters. BJ Penn was once said to be the greatest fighter to come to the Cesar Gracie school. He was considered part of the family. They had their beef. He fell out, went and did his own thing, and the BJ Penn, you know, he went and did his own school or whatever. Then you have Nick Diaz, who's come up through the Cesar Gracie family, and he's another black belt that's just completely phenomenal. Jeremy always likes to say that he looks, if there was a textbook that had a diagram of these submissions that he does, that what he does in a fight would have to be taken frame by frame and put in that textbook. And that's exactly what happens when he gets in a fight. The textbook executes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And there's not another person better out there at him except for maybe BJ Penn. Jeremy, go ahead and take that.
It's interesting. Like you said, they're very similar on paper. If you look at these two guys and you say, well, what does each of them do well? Both of them like to box standing. They like to lead with that jab, real heavy jab. And both of them are jiu-jitsu experts on the ground. They seem like the same guy. Nick Diaz likes his boxing, his jab is 100 times a minute, where BJ Penn's is a strong jab to get you off balance. Diaz fights better off of his back. BJ fights better with top control. So though they are, you know, they are kind of the same guy, they're really not, because their facets within that, you know, the more narrow view kind of matchup. But what that does is means where Nick is strongest on the ground, that's where BJ is at his strongest on the ground. And what Nick wants to do on his feet is diametrically opposed to what BJ wants to do on his feet. The deciding factor in this fight is going to be the pace at which this fight is fought. The faster fight, obviously, I think, lends itself to Nick Diaz, whereas the more deliberate, more concise, more precise, technical, deliberate fight, I think, tends to favor more towards BJ Penn.
Yeah, and totally like you were saying, you know, they are similar and they are different. You look at Nick Diaz, this guy's got, you know, gas for days. He can go a 7-round fight. And BJ here, you know, always has had trouble.
Not at 170.
Always having that problem. Now, this is not a title fight. So we're looking at 3 rounds. So BJ finds the advantage there. I think that he is, you know, you're looking at a style in Diaz that is flurry punches, throw more. It's all about the amount of punches, and, you know, you're going to land. The more you throw, the more chance you have of landing. Against, you know, BJ, he's got a little less, a little bit more accurate, a little bit more power. And each punch, you know, he's going to get that on the cards a little bit more. But like you said, you know, these guys both have skills everywhere in mixed martial arts. The Phenom versus the new guy, you know, and I don't think we're going to be, like you said, both you and I picked this for fight of the night. I think no one's going to be upset with this one.
All right, guys. You know, one of the things I didn't get to get into in my picks online, so I don't like taking up people's days reading our picks online, is that BJ is a phenomenal boxer, too. I mean, his hands are up there with Diaz's. It's just like you guys said, Diaz throws a little more volume, BJ throws a little more power behind his. So it's really, I really agree with Jeremy when I read his write-up on the fight that it's going to come down to who has the most volume or who pushes the pace of the fight is basically going to win. And, you know, I got to go with Nick Diaz there. Nick Diaz is younger. He's, like I said, he's the BJ Penn of our generation now. And I feel like he's going to come out and he's going to do what he does. His chin's going to hold up against BJ's hands, and he's going to take this fight. Jeremy, I want to get John's picks before we go off today.
I actually tend to think that BJ is the better boxer, technique-wise and really strength-wise. The thing is that the way that Diaz boxes probably lends to this specific matchup better. He's got the length, he's got the volume, he's going to make BJ have to react to that. In doing so, I think BJ will get gassed. He's always been out of shape at 170, always. I'm the biggest BJ Penn fan in this room, but he always gets gassed at 170, and I think that volume is really going to wear him down. I do think Diaz wins this fight.
John, who you got, man?
I think that most everybody's got Diaz in this fight. I think he's the younger guy. He's coming up as BJ is kind of slipping away, as we've seen in the last couple of fights he's had. I'm going to go against popular belief. I'm going to take BJ. I'm going to try and split this up so we don't have all the same exact picks. I think BJ has a great opportunity here to show that he is not done with his MMA career.
You know, I couldn't agree more with you guys. I like both of your picks there. I'm glad that we finally got some split in our picks here. Yeah, some variety here. Man, that's going to do it for us on Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings, guys. A couple things I want to say before we get out of here. Thanks to Greg Chapman, General Manager of Buffalo Wild Wings on 32 West Joyce Boulevard, in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Thank you for letting us come out here and do this show. We have every event. You know, thank everybody behind the camera. We got TJ Carver out here tonight. We got Marcus Swearingen back there. We got a couple more people helping us behind these scenes. They'll be in the credits. You'll see their names. Sorry you didn't get a shout out. But if you guys want to find us online, Facebook.com/OffTheMatTV. We're all on there. Everybody who's on the staff comments on Off the Mat. If you want to check us out on Twitter, @OffTheMatTV. On Twitter, @Bernard_Oliver, @John Urculio, and @Jeremy Hurt with 2 T's. You know, if you need anything more information than that, get it us online, guys. We're always on there chatting. We love fan feedback, and we love to put your guys' views on the show. We do a little fan segment that we do a little shout outs or whatever. But that's pretty much going to do it for us on Off the Mat from Buffalo Wild Wings, guys. Until next time, we'll see you at the fight.
Yeah, I told you so. I came into this game without a lick of 50 cents, but I told you one day this would up and pay my rent. Right around